Hello YouTube, my name is Brandon and this is Toronto Mod Shop. Basically in this video I'm going to be showing you how to refinish under the hatch. This process also can be used for refinishing trunks. Basically this is going to be my first DIY how-to video. I'm going to walk you guys through the process step by step. I'll tell you guys what you'll need, and if you guys have questions you can ask me. I might be able to answer them, might not. But let's jump out and take a look at what it looks like right now. Alright guys, this is basically what it looks like right now. As you guys can see, well, maybe you don't know, but that used to be black. Now it's basically like an off-white, grayish, pale, faded color. So that I'm going to be re-spraying. Show you guys what I'm going to use to do that. Same on that side. Same right here, it's all faded and ugly. As well as that, the carpet has holes. The rubber thing under is all broken up, and all the insulation is peeling. And under here is all rusty and dirty, and all the wires are everywhere. Basically what I'm going to be doing is, like I said, refinishing this, but after I refinish it, I'm going to be tucking all the wires. There's also some wires in here. I'm going to be tucking those wires against inside using the split wire loom cover and some rubber hose clamps, like the ones that have the rubber around them and then they have a hole to bolt into the side, just to keep everything out of the way so that under here looks clean. So let me just grab the supplies and I'll tell you guys what I'm going to do. What you're going to need. Basically right now all I'm going to do is tell you what's here and what it's used for, and then as I go through the process I'll show you guys step by step and tell you what you're going to need at each step. But let's just go through what's here in total. You're going to need wire brushes. That's going to be for loosening up any rust that's there. If there's any, like if you saw before, under there there's just rust spots. You want to scrape off all that rust because you want a smooth surface. Steel wool and fine body scuff pad for scuffing the surface before paint. Lacquer thinner to clean off any of the dirt and grime and everything, as well as a very strong degreaser. That's that red stuff. Wax and grease remover that's used to basically wipe down last right before paint, to make sure that there's no solvents or wax or grease on the surface that's going to ruin the finish of your paint. Obviously you need paper towels to wipe everything off. These, just a really coarse scuff pad to get further rust off. You're going to need a vacuum. Obviously that vacuum's way too small. Obviously you can't use that. I'm going to be getting a shop vac probably tomorrow. That's just there so I don't forget to mention it in the video. Sorry, the fly just hit me in the head. You also need 2 different thicknesses of painter's tape. I think that's 2 inches. That's about 1 inch. This as well is good. I like this product. This is from Walmart. Don't really like Walmart, but what this is basically is painter's tape. And then there's about a 12-inch piece of plastic attached to it. So instead of me going and spiraling and wrapping all the wires, I could just put it on, stretch the plastic out, and then tape the other end, so that way the wires are protected. I mentioned split loom wire cover. That's what this stuff is. So basically the wires go in and it's split, so that way you could put the wires inside. That's so it can be tucked and cleaned and look clean. These are, when you're doing any type of paint product with aerosol cans, your fingers are going to hurt after the first can, so I recommend these. This is Rust-Oleum ones, but you can get them from pretty much everywhere. Slides onto the can so you could spray it like a gun. That'll save your fingers. Alright, let's quickly just go through what's here paint-wise. This is Duplicolored vinyl and fabric paint. This is black. They have about, I'd say, 7 colors. Like black, white, gray, burgundy, red, green. Pretty much every color you're going to need. This is going to be used to refinish these. This can also be sprayed on carpets, so I'm also going to use that to refinish this carpet. Not this. That carpet right there. You're also going to need, well, let's go in the process. The right order. You're going to need rust reformer or rust converter. Basically any rust spots that are there that you've smoothed out but are still rusty, you spray this on there to stop the rust and to turn it into a paintable surface, because you can't paint on rust, it'll peel off. This is if I sand down to any bare metal you don't want to paint onto bare metal. usually, so I'm going to just shoot those spots with a sandable primer. I recommend a self-etch primer, but I couldn't find any, so this is the next best thing. And then the last thing is the Duplicolor trunk paint. This is an aqua and black. They have a black and white, they have a gray and black. Those are the three options. I got this because the interior is going to be all black eventually, and the car exterior is going to be sort of a metallic-y green, so that sort of matches. Alright, see you guys in a bit. Alright, so step one, first thing you're going to want to do is to take everything out. Unscrew the trim. Mine's already unscrewed. So unscrew everything, remove the carpet, remove the spare tire if you have one under there. I don't. And then see you guys in a second. So now that your trunk is clear of all trim and carpet, next thing you're going to want to do is pick up any large pieces. I've already picked up a couple of things, but there's stuff like this, metal pieces and pieces of sound deadening that's not going to be able to get vacuumed. So anything big you pick up. Before you start picking stuff up, you don't have to, it's an option. What I'm doing is I'm removing sound deadening, keep the weight down a tiny bit. May only pick up a pound or two, but whatever. And to remove sound deadening, all you need to do is get stuff like this, paint scrapers and gasket scrapers, and a rubber mallet for the hard pieces. Basically all you do, gotta do this one hand, bear with me. Just do that. Scrape. It's very time consuming, but just do something like that. Scrape. Take your time. Try not to scratch the actual metal. But as well, I also forgot to mention in my portion of the video where I told you what you're going to need, I forgot the most important thing, which is your safety pieces, which is a respirator and safety goggles or glasses. You want to keep your eyes and your lungs safe. You want to keep your life long. Alright, see you guys in a second. If you decided to remove the sound deadening material after 2 or 3 hours, this is what it'll look like. I got 99% of it off. Exposed some rust over there, so I have to convert that so it stops rusting. If you look closely, there's still sound deadening pieces everywhere, but what I'll do is hit it with a heat gun to melt it and then just scrape it off. That way it's smooth surface. I'll use steel wool and buff pads and scuff pads. Basically get it smooth, and then I can start priming and rust converting. This is all the material that came out. I thought it could be about 1 or 2 pounds. This is probably more like 10 or 12. So I'm happy I lost that weight. Just give you guys a quick look around. I also scraped off that thing. That's kind of rusty too, so I'll have to convert and paint that as well. So just to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek at what it's going to be looking like, I did the spare tire seat, you could call it, spot where the spare tire goes. Clean that up with paint thinner to get off the excess sound deadening adhesive. Wiped it down with wax and grease remover, paint thinner, wax and grease remover, kept moving around, degreaser, scuffed it up with that really coarse 3M scuff pad, hit it with the gasket scraper more, and all I've done so far is the spots where there was a little bit of rust, I hit them with the rust reformer. That way they're done rusting and they won't rust anymore. And yeah, gone over it with a couple coats of primer. First coat of primer was this right here. Duplicolor sandable primer. Like I said before, self-etch primer is better, but second best thing. And then after I coated it once with that primer, I coated it another time with this, which is just the basic gray primer. So now I'll leave that alone and I'll finish all that. Next time you see this, all that out there should be all clean and ready to be rust converted and primed. If you decided to remove the sun deadening after a few more hours, I'd say probably about 2. So what it'll look like. As you can see, most of the sun deadening is off, and that side is rust converted because it was really rusty. Now all I have to do is wipe it all down with wax and grease remover and mask it all off. Alright, now that it's been wiped down with wax and grease remover, and a couple of things are taped off. In my case, there's going to be trim pieces around, so it doesn't really matter if there's a little bit of overspray on the sides, so I didn't mask off everything. But if in your case there's going to be more exposed, then obviously you need to tape off everything that's going to be exposed after the trim goes back on. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is spray rust converter or rust reformer on that rust back there and a couple of spots around here. Alright, so now I've sprayed rust converter all in there. Kind of dark, so I have to use a flashlight to show you guys. That was all rusty. Now it's going to, in about 20 minutes, that'll all be converted to non-rust. Some rust spots were there. There were some rust spots in there. Alright, the next step is to go over any spots with bare metal with just a sandable primer or a self-etch primer if you can find it. So now everything is coated in rust reformer or primer. The rust that has been converted doesn't need to be primed over. That product turns it into a surface that's able to be painted directly onto. But everything else, as you can see, has been coated in the Duplicolor sandable primer. So now I just got to give this about 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes I'll come back and I'll start spraying the bed liner. Now that this is dry for the most part, that's not dry over there yet, so I'm going to wait 10 minutes for that, but I'm going to start bed lining over here. You're going to want to shake up the bed liner for about a minute, and again, after every minute of use you're going to want to shake it up for 15 seconds, so that way it doesn't come out. You want it to come out evenly, that way you get evenly coated everywhere. So I've done the first coat on this portion over here, and I think it looks pretty awesome. I like it. If you look up close, you can see little aqua dots in the black, so they'll sort of match the body when it's painted. I'm still waiting for that to dry. I don't want to paint bed liner over wet rust reformer, so I'm going to wait for that. But over here is pretty much done. I just need to maybe touch up some spots here and there, but one coat went on pretty well. So I've bed lined some more little spots here and there over here, and that over there. I'm just walk around to give you guys another look from the other side. Can't really see very well, but it's pretty even. And I've only used one of the 2 cans that I bought. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the other one. I might return it. I don't know. Or I might just spray it on, that way it's a thicker coat. We'll see. But if you're doing it, you want to keep the budget down. 1 can is enough for a whole trunk. Give you guys another quick look around. Now that the trunk floor is looking pretty good, next thing you're going to want to do is grab all the trim pieces and your Duplicolor vinyl and fabric spray. Find a nice well ventilated area, grab your respirator, put out a drop sheet or a tarp, lay out your pieces, and get ready to paint. Use half of the other can to give it a nice thick coat, that way even if it does get scratched a little bit, it won't scratch all the way through. Give you guys a quick look. I got under there a little bit, and I got over there. Alright, so now that this is 100% done, like I said, you can move on to your trim panels. You have the trunk floor looking better. Now you got to refinish all the surrounding panels. First thing you're going to want to do is wipe them down with a very, very mild degreaser or surface cleaner. They have been cleaned with surface cleaner or mild degreaser. You're going to want to give them time to dry, and then you're going to want to scuff them up with one of these, which is a 3M paint and body scuff pad. This is a fine to medium grit scuff pad. Recommendation If I were you, I wouldn't try and use the full pad. It's going to be hard to get into the little contours and curves. I recommend cutting off a piece. This is about 6 inches long, 2 inches wide. That way it can be folded and put into all the hard to reach places and scuffed with that 3M scuff pad. You're going to want to wipe them down with that surface cleaner again and then let them dry. Another quick tip, if you're trying to clean in small corners or edges and you can't get your finger and the cloth in, what you can do is get a screwdriver, flathead, take the cloth, fold it over it, and now you have a small little cleaning tool. So once you've cleaned it another time, you want to pay attention to your cloths. Mine's still dirty, so what I'm going to do is clean it again and keep cleaning it basically with the mild cleaner until the cloths come back clean. Once the cloths start coming back clean, you're going to want to start shaking up your vinyl dye paint. Again, I'm using Duplicolor Vinyl and Fabric Black. This is about $11 a can. You want to shake it up for about a minute, and every minute of use, shake it up again for another 15 seconds. When it comes to painting with this, or painting with the primer or the bed liner even for the trunk, you're going to want to try and aim for a 20 to 25% coverage on the first coat, then 50, then 75 to 100 depending on the thickness of the product. The product came out kind of thick, so I don't think I got the 20-25%. I think I got more like 40 to 45%, which is good. But now you're going to want to let that dry for about 10 to 15 minutes and then come back with the second coat. That's coat number 3 on these trim pieces. Pretty sure I'm only going to be putting one more coat and then I'll let them dry, put them back in the car. Here's a piece that ran between the under the hatch and the passenger compartment. It's metal, so I can't really spray it with the vinyl dye. I'm going to have to spray it with primer and black gloss paint. So to prep this, all I really did is cleaned it off with the surface cleaner, scuffed it with the 3M pad, and now I'm going to prime and paint it. Middle trim piece has been primed. Now I just got to spray it with some black gloss paint. So that was used for those trim pieces over there. It's going to be used for this. I don't think I'm going to be spraying the carpet. I think I'll just leave the carpet because it's black enough, but I'll spray that top trim piece to make it black again. The piece has been cleaned with the surface cleaner and dried. Now it's ready for its first coat of the Duplicolor vinyl. Real heavy just to see how it would turn out. Hopefully it turns out fine. If it does, then that means I can only put 2 coats instead of having to put like 4 or 5. Like over there, I'm already on my 4th coat and 5th coat. This hasn't been vinyl painted yet. This stuff here, I'm not going to show you guys after each coat. I'm going to basically put 3 coats on each, and next time you see everything, it'll all be finished. Painting's done. Now all I have to do is wait for it to dry and assemble it. This here, that's 1 coat of primer, 2 coats of paint. This has about 4 to 5 coats of the Duplicolor vinyl paint. That top section there has about, let's say, 4 coats of the vinyl paint. Can't see them that well. Those trim pieces right there have, let's say, 3 coats. 2 light coats and a heavy coat of the vinyl paint. And this has about 2 coats, 1 heavy, 1 light, of the Duplicolor chunk paint. Now it's just time, like I said, wait for it all to dry. This probably takes about 3 or 4 hours to dry. Those will be dry in about 2 hours. And I'll assemble it. Alright, so I've decided I don't need to put split wire loom cover on things, because if you look at the wires, they're already wrapped up. I wasn't sure if they were going to be wrapped up when I decided to do the split wire loom cover. So all I've done is I've put a zip tie around the antenna cable because it was about 4 feet too long, and wrapped it up and tucked it away. So that sort of cleaned up the wiring. Another thing, I'm going to make a quick recommendation to everybody that's attempting any project. Don't just leave your bolts lying around. Put them in baggies, label the baggies. It's the worst feeling ever is finishing the project and then realizing you've lost half the bolts. So, bag them and tag them. And it's done. It's about, I'd say, 10 to 12 hours in total of work. I'd say about $70 in total for all the paints and supplies that were used for this. I still have a little bit of extra vinyl dye, so I'm going to use that somewhere in there. Maybe stain those door carpet pieces. But that's for another time. Just give you guys a quick look around. As you guys can see, those used to be all pale gray, now they're black again. The floor was all rusty and silver, now it's black and aqua. In total I dropped about 10 pounds, maybe 12, I'm not sure. So that was good. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If I've made any major mistakes that you want to point out, or maybe recommendations for future projects, like I said, put them in the comments below. Thanks guys.